boys. What did you do to Goose? Goose.
Today when I got to the barn, I was really surprised to see Goose out in the pasture all by himself.
Okay, Goosey?
All these boys have been getting along pretty well so far.
What's wrong, buddy?
I did notice over the last couple of days that Stewy has really been getting after Goose. Goose is a little bit aggressive around Pete and Gus, so I think Stewy finally had enough. I can tell that Goose is not very excited about going back in the dry lot with all the other horses. As he slowly made his way back into his pen, I noticed that he did have a few little bites on him.
Okay.
These really aren't a big deal. I think Goose's pride is hurt more than his body at this point.
You all right?
He even tried to snuggle up to me to get some scratches, which is kind of out of character for Goose. Honestly, he was being kind of a brat to the other horses, so it's probably a good thing that Stewy is putting him in his place.
Come on, Timmy.
The weather around here has changed pretty drastically over the last week. Currently, there are some storms blowing around and it is a lot cooler. It's only around 75 degrees today.
Wow, Timmy.
Today, I will not be at the barn all day. I have a ton of stuff to do at home. I'm still cleaning out my eBay store. We also found a couple properties that we want to go look at, but they're pretty far away.
There's a big belly. Gus. Oops. Sorry.
The market does seem to be cooling off and these properties are kind of in a remote area, so we're gonna try and plan to get out and see them over the next couple of weeks, hopefully. A couple of days ago when I was at that auction, I did run into another horse trainer friend of mine and she let me know that she had a client with a horse that they were gonna be letting go for free. I am having a real mental battle about this horse because they said that she's kind of a little bit crazy and they're having a hard time training her. But I just do not have time right now for another horse like Pete.
Boy, Pete.
In an exciting turn of events, Pete has recently decided that if I scratch him from his shoulder back, then it's totally fine with him. I really do think that him being around the other horses and Stewy being buddies with him now has really allowed him to kind of come out of his shell a little bit. He is still not super excited about me approaching him from the front, so that is something that I'll continue to work on with him. This morning, I'm checking on the horses, getting everybody fed, just making sure all of these boys are doing okay.
Boy, Pete. Zig.
Ziggy has been getting along really well with Gus and Studman. He is starting to get a little bit bored in here. I don't think he likes being ridden in the arena very much.
Come on, boys. Hey, come on.
With him getting in better shape, I think he's just really bored going around and around. Compared to a job at a dude ranch where he's getting ridden every single day throughout the summer, this is probably really boring for him. We are slowly coming up on the perfect time of year to go riding. It's not too hot, it's not too cold, it's done snowing for the year. I also got invited to a pretty big trip down to the Tetons that I might take Ziggy on. I haven't decided yet. It's a little bit hard to make plans when you want to leave some time open to visit properties in case they happen to pop up. So I'm trying not to put too many things on my calendar that can't be changed. Tiny was pretty upset that I was gone for most of the day today.
Come here. Come on. Oh. Oh, you kidding?
My ankle had been feeling really good the last couple of months. I must have stepped on a rock just right, but I really rolled my ankle when I was petting Tiny. This kind of stuff is really annoying to me. I don't want to be hobbling around all day. I've got to fix the four-wheeler. She's been out of commission for the last couple of days while I've been waiting on some parts for the wheels. With our house hunt in full swing, I really don't want to be spending extra money on a gator right now, so I'm trying to make the four-wheeler last as long as possible. Unfortunately, for the last couple of days, I have not been able to clean out the pen, so that is what I'm going to do this afternoon. I finally have all the parts to get the four-wheeler put back together, but after I just twisted my ankle, I'm going to have to take some time this evening to ice it just so it doesn't get out of hand. I probably shouldn't really be walking around on it too much, but I have a ton of things to get caught up with just because the four-wheeler's been out of commission. Just so these boys aren't bothering me, I am going to turn them back out onto the pasture a little bit early this evening. It's nice to see Whiplash getting along with Pete and being able to calm down and not chase everybody around. Poor Goose is still a little bit on the outskirts. He stayed on the opposite side of the fence all day.
Come on, boys.
Typically, the boys will stay out on this pasture until the middle of September, but it has gotten really crispy. While there is grass out here for them to munch on, they just won't eat it, so I am going to be opening up their second pasture. When these boys don't have enough to distract them when they're turned out, they'll just get into mischief on their own, so I want to prevent anybody from getting hurt. The weather has been calling for some hailstorms, so hopefully they'll hold off a little bit while I get these boys out and check all of the fencing. I did tighten up the fence a few months ago, so it should be good to go, but I'm going to give it one more walk around the perimeter after I turn these boys out, just to make sure there's no holes for them to sneak out of.
Come on, Gus.
As usual, Gus is the first one that realizes that there are going to be more snacks out here.
Hey, Gussie. Hey, Gussie. Okay. Hold on, hold on. Okay. Okay, boys. Come on.
Pretty interesting to see Goose a little bit scared of Stewy as they're going through the gate. I think Whiplash and Goose are still
Stewy!
pretty good buds, but every once in a while Stewy will break away from his little herd to chase Goose around. Since these boys are both a little bit on the roly-poly side, the extra exercise is not going to hurt them. On days where I'm at the barn all day, I have been catching up Goose and Stewy and Pete. They've been getting lunged and brought back into work. I have been riding around on Gus a little bit, but he does seem a little bit sore still, so he will get adjusted when the chiropractor comes out to do Ziggy in a couple of days. The only one who seemed upset to have the boys so far away was Scarlet. I think she really does like being able to see a bunch of horses when she's turned out in her round pen. After I get these boys situated, I am going to be taking her into the barn while I clean her round pen. As you can see, the grass out here is still pretty crispy, but there are some really green bits on the bottom. A lot of you guys have asked how big of a property we're looking for, and ideally we really would like 40 or more acres. I would love it if I didn't have to feed hay so often, and I think my husband would too, because I always bring little particles into the house. Even though we really are ready to find a place, we're trying to be patient just so we don't buy something that isn't a right fit for us. As I finish up checking the fences, it does start to sprinkle a little bit. I have a hard time wrapping my head around the fact that it is the middle of August already. I feel like I've done a horrible job of getting all of the horses ridden this year because I've been so busy. There are some big changes happening for me, and it's been a little bit overwhelming.
Boys.
Between shutting down my eBay store, switching over to YouTube full time,
Yep.
and constantly trying to find a property we can afford that's in a place we actually want to live, there really doesn't seem to be much time for anything else after I take care of all of the basic chores I need to do to make sure all of the horses are staying happy and healthy. On the rare occasion that I do get to ride, I do feel pretty selfish.
Goose.
Summer in Montana is very short, and there are a bunch of things that I can only get done when the weather's nice. It's something that I'm working on. The chores are always gonna be here, so I'm trying harder to take more time out for myself to actually enjoy the horses. The last couple of years, and especially since I've been putting videos out on YouTube, I have realized how lucky I am to be able to live this lifestyle. The chores really don't seem like an inconvenience to me. They kind of feel like just an everyday thing that I get to do because I have horses. Even when the weather is pretty awful out and I'm just shoveling turds all day because the four-wheeler was broken, I do feel pretty lucky that I get to do this.
Tiny. What are you doing?
We're not supposed to get too much rain tonight, so these bales should be fine just to sit out uncovered for a few more days.
Girl.
It's still just sprinkling out a little bit, so I will be able to get a few more chores done tonight and catch up on all of the turds that I have laying around. It looks like the boys are really enjoying the grass that has been greened up by the neighbor's irrigation. After tackling a bunch of the excess turd buildup that I have, I'm ready to feed everybody their dinner. Nigel still hates it when I watch him eat. I think he's really been digging this cooler weather. He's been acting extra spry lately. Ziggy, Studman, and Gus are going to get their ration balancer. I tried feeding these boys along the fence, but they fight with each other a little bit too much, so I've been having to separate them a little bit more. Ziggy gets to eat all of his food in private behind the shed just so the other horses don't come over and steal it from him. The gophers have been getting a little bit out of control. They have figured out how to snatch food from the horses' feed pans. All of the horses are due for an updated rabies vaccine, so they will be getting that later this week when the vet comes. Pretty unlikely that any of these little gophers would transmit rabies to the horses, but it's always better to be safe than sorry, I think. There was a pretty impressive rainbow forming as I got ready to bring the boys in. It doesn't look like these boys are too enticed to come in just yet. Gus eventually heard the sprinkling of grain inside the feed pans and came galloping in. It looks like Gus, Stewy, and Pete make it into the dry lot first. Pretty interesting that Stewy is now in charge of their tiny little herd. After depositing a few more meals, Whiplash and Goose finally make it back into the dry lot. It is so nice to have all these boys out on pasture right now. When we're searching for properties, that is something that is really in the back of my mind because I would love to have all of the horses out on their own pastures. With Frisco getting so old, he really can't be out with a lot of the other horses. They just push him around too much. With any luck, one day soon, Frisco and Nigel will be able to have their own personal pastures. And you guys are a huge part of the reason that that is going to eventually happen. So thank you so much for watching and stay tuned for the next video.